Good evening and welcome to tonight's school board meeting of the FWCS Board of School Trustees. We begin this meeting as we do each meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we have roll call of members.
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Julie Hollingsworth, District 1.
Noah Smith, 3rd District.
Jennifer Mathias, 2nd District.
Ann Duff, member at large.
And to my left, we have Dr. Mark Daniel, Superintendent, and Angie Filler, Clerk of the Board, and I'm Maria Norman, Member at Large. We begin tonight with awards and recognition. Let me get there. Here we are. It is recommended that the board recognize the 2024 graduate of Northrop High School, Javion Westfield, for his achievements at the 2024 Boys IHSAA Track and Field State Finals. The Indiana High School Athletic Association State Track and Field Championship was held on June 6th in Bloomington, Indiana. Javion finished his high school track, I was anticipating to say high jump, his high school track career being state runner-up in high hurdles and 3rd place in the 300 intermediate hurdles. Please come forward as your name is read so we may congratulate you. Javion Westfield. We also have Keith Scott, the boys track coach, and Bob Shank, athletic director.
So Javion, just out of curiosity, do you have plans to run track in college? Or?
At Indiana Tech.
At Indiana Tech? Okay.
You want to go to the microphone so we can get your answer?
I'll be running at Indiana Tech, and yeah.
That is a beautiful track facility out there.
Sure is. I like it. I like it.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
What do you plan to study at Indiana Tech?
Computer science.
Great.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Yeah. Okay, next up we have the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes from our meeting on June 24th, vouchers and payroll, the personnel report, and required disclosures. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Noah. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Dr. Daniel, did you?
I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a new principal at Irwin STEM Magnet School. His name is Dr. Brandon Foster. Dr. Foster, if you're up. Dr. Foster is a Northrop graduate, returning to Fort Wayne Community Schools. And his life story is one of inspiration, and it's very well documented. Just Google his name to read about it, and you'll find his education career in 2013 in Texas, where he was the English teacher, principal intern, assistant principal, and instructional coach. From there, Dr. Foster became a resident intern with the deputy superintendent at Boston Public Schools. Worked as a special assistant to the superintendent for Ferguson, Florissant School District in St. Louis. Works as an educational consultant and recently earned his doctorate of educational leadership from Harvard University. At Irwin, Dr. Brandon Foster replaces Mary Canary, who is now the principal of Von Scott Academy. So welcome, Dr. Foster.
Okay. And then on to new business. Item A, Steve, can you do that one for me, please?
Sure. It's recommended that an award be made to renew our custodial services agreement with Sodexo Services of Indiana Limited for 3 years commencing July 19th, 2024. Some background information on this. Our current one-year renewal term ended on the 18th of July. If approved, the first-year renewal amount will be $13,091,419.60. Potential annual price adjustments for upcoming renewal years 2 and 3 would be determined through negotiation and/or based on changes in the employee cost index. And Darren Hess is here from Facilities, and Pete Smith, Manager of Maintenance and Operations, and both of them are available to answer any questions about this contract agreement.
Thanks, Steve. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move for approval?
Second.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions?
I just think, Darren, we see a lot and appreciate his efforts. Pete, we don't see as much, and Renee's here regularly, but doesn't get to speak much. But I think I've done this a lot the last few months, if you like, but on behalf of the rest of the board, I think we want to thank Sodexo and Renee in particular and her leadership. Jennifer's comment about how she has friends in Toledo area and has seen schools up there, and I know some of our teachers went down to Nashville, I think, last year and heard feedback that our buildings and our schools look great compared to some of these other communities. And quite frankly, we need to thank the community for the continued referendums, but Darren and Pete and Renee in particular are charged with that, keeping our schools look great, and so I just want to appreciate it publicly and thank you all for your work and effort.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Julie, can you do the next item?
Yep. This is the Adult Education Grant. It is recommended that the board approve the Indiana Department of Workforce Development's 24-25 Adult Education Grant in the amount of $1,275,000 with an additional $10,000 for high school equivalency testing. These funds will be designated for personnel, professional development, instructional materials, supplies, equipment, purchase services, integrated education and training, and the Workforce Education Initiative, including workforce certification programming for local Allen County business and industry. This competitive grant was written by the Manager of Continuing Education Programs, Lonnie Heck, and he is available to answer any questions.
Thanks, Julie. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move to approve.
Thanks. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Ann. Any questions for Lonnie? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Noah, you want to do the next item?
Sure. As recommended, the board approve the Indiana Department of Workforce Development's 2024-2025 Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education, IELCE, grant in the amount of $100,000. The purpose of this grant is to provide adult English language instruction integrating all 4 civics concepts: naturalization, civic engagement, United States history, and government. The funds in this year's grant are designed for integrated education and training, as well as funding for ELL Career Navigator. That grant was written by Manager of Continuing Ed Programs, Lonnie Heck, and he's here to answer any questions again still.
Thanks, Noah. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions for Lonnie?
I have a question. So is this to prepare adult education students to take the naturalization civics test?
No, that, is this on? Okay. It is not, that's just a component. What we really focus on is just the civics part of it, understanding our government, understanding the history of it, and we kind of farm that out when they have naturalization or anything like that. It's not really our wheelhouse. It could be. The career navigator part would be something that might become a little more regular in our scope of services we offer.
Are these, I know we just did one in this one, are these new grants to us that become available, or are these something we've done in the past?
We've done in the past. DWD, this was an open competitive year, so it's no longer based on how many ELL adults I have. It is based on kind of the fact that this region does have a growing population of ELL, and so it's not new, it's just they've kind of tweaked how we're going to approach it, and that Career Navigator is kind of a big thing they're piloting. They've studied in Texas, California, large Latino ELL populations, and they really want to pilot that in a couple regions, and we were selected as a program in this region to pilot it.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
What percent of your students are, or adult ed learners are ELL? You know?
But it's about 50-50. We had 1,070, I would say, that was total in our programs, and over 500 were ELL.
Is there a dominant language?
Spanish, and then it reflects the community, then Burmese, and then we just have a smorgasbord of all the other languages, which is really neat.
It is, thanks. Bonnie.
Yep.
How do people find you?
Word of mouth, that's the biggest one. It truly is. There's that niche in each community that, you know, hey, I got this at Anthus. Hey, they offer this for free, or they can help you. And then our Facebook page is growing, the Fort Wayne Community School Facebook page. But I can't reiterate enough when, you know, somebody crosses your path to send it my way, and that truly is, I would say 90% of our phone calls and emails. Hey, someone told me about my friend earned from you, and I want to experience that too. So it's a great word of mouth program, and I'm thankful for that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, especially with
As adult learners, what's your age ranges that you can serve?
16 on as old as they want to come. Yeah, I would say our oldest last year was 60s, and that was an adult working on their diploma. But we do have a couple of our ELL. They're a cute couple from Ukraine, you know, fleeing the war. They're in their 80s. They're like grandma and grandpa. Yeah, they're doing well.
It's amazing.
They're doing well. They're getting there, learning their English. Yeah.
Thanks, Lonnie.
Thank you.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Jennifer, you want to do the next one?
It is recommended that the board approve the 5-day training academy for conscious discipline from Loving Guidance LLC in the amount of $200,000. Conscious discipline applies transformational practices, increases academic integration, and sharpens adult skills for consistent implementation when responding to students who are dysregulated, disrupted, or in conflict. The Academy training helps participants develop an understanding of brain-based research and developmentally appropriate practices that will increase strategies and tools to handle challenging behaviors while strengthening the classroom and school community. Funding will come from expanding access to critical mental health support, the EACH grant. Reagan Fry, Mental Health Coordinator, and Melissa Richards, Director of Wellbeing and Alternative Programs, will be available to answer our questions.
Thanks, Jennifer. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Thanks, Ann.
Second.
Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions for Reagan or Melissa?
And who are the students in this program?
Actually, it was adults in the program, so we were able to hold the PL and over almost 250 of our teachers, with 40 of our own helpers that went to the Conscious Discipline Academy last summer in Chicago, or the table helpers.
And they raved about it?
They did. We had awesome feedback, and we're going to be using that for upcoming coaching in our buildings. And so we had 30 of our 52 buildings participate.
Have you had any communication with them before this program has started, the teachers that are?
Conscious discipline?
Yeah.
Yeah. All the people who participated worked all last year in conscious discipline, whether that was book studies, watching the videos, participating in PL from the Wellbeing Department.
Did you say this was last summer?
No. With the, we sent 40, there were 40 of us that went last summer to what's called Conscious Discipline Academy #1. And then we're able to be the table helpers.
Okay. So is this something that we see as an ongoing program every summer?
For sure. As many people who want to jump on the conscious discipline training, yeah.
So the 40, was that included in the 250 number, or sort of 290?
Included.
Okay,
The
so
full- yeah.
210 and 40?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, is it open to anybody, or what?
Yeah,
You said,
absolutely open to anybody. And on our HCMU page, you can join any of the groups that we have.
thought we were getting more there then.
But yeah, all they have to do is ask their principal to participate.
So we had 40 of our own helpers at this event from something that they studied the last time, so they came back to help. And so then this grant was for loving guidance.
Yes.
So how many people, so they brought the facilitators and the curriculum for?
Yes, yep. Jill Moley was our master teacher, and she is actually now has moved up in the conscious discipline ranks. Won't be coaching as much anymore, but she's still totally on board with our district. She's loving it.
So how many of our own do we need to be able to facilitate something of like this?
That's
for
what we're trying
ourselves?
to build. So we have 6 schools that are being really coached this year. I'm going to keep looking back here because Brenda West at South Wayne is one of our main ones, but we have Studi and Shamba and Indian Village and Abbott, Bloomingdale. Those are our 6 main schools, but we had 100, I was going to look, I have the numbers. 175 elementary participants, 33 middle, and 12 high schools, or 12 high school people, sorry.
Since Miss West is here, Miss West, you mind getting on the flip?
You'll never get her off the
She
microphone.
is the perfect person to talk about this. This is who I worked with Conscious Discipline for 7 years. And so looking at where the school started and where it's at now is quite amazing.
Hello, Noah. So Conscious Discipline is an adult-first model, so we change the adults first, and then we work on changing the students with a lens that is skill-based, not punishment-based. And so the conscious in discipline is be conscious of who you are, where you are in this moment with that child. And the discipline is have your own discipline to be self-regulated so you can help that child find the skills, develop the skills, co-regulate with them so that they can stay in class and continue learning without disrupting everyone, including my favorite people, the teachers, right? They're usually the ones most disrupted by dysregulated students. So this helps teachers really find structures that help them in the classroom achieve this, language that helps them achieve it. And how for me it was different is that it gives you something to do, not just the research behind the brain and trauma. We know all of those things, but what do we do? Well, those structures are in place in conscious discipline.
And you've seen a positive impact in your school environment?
Yes, so 100 years ago when I started at South Wayne, I don't know the years, so I won't lie.
Oh, you're 29.
Something like that, right? Thank you. We were at 750 referrals in a year, and last year we came in with 130 referrals. And so we have 2 behavior support rooms, which is why I'm really here. So yay when that one comes up. The way students and teachers interact in my building is very different, and we see that every single day. So the next thing we're tackling is academics. You can ask me next year about that. But right now, we have a great plan for teachers to be able to deal with students who have not succeeded in other schools through our behavior support program or our regular gen ed classrooms, where we just live and breathe this every day.
And I got a chance to visit Miss West in South Wayne in the last 12 months or so, I think. But it was,
Yes, you
I
did.
remember specifically you took the whole school and talked about it, and we had some time and moments for conscious discipline, and the kids really seemed to respond, and was real impressed with it. So thanks for sharing.
Mary could also speak if you That's great.
Any other questions? Thank you for sharing. Other questions? No? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ann, can you do the next item, please?
Yes, this is the purchase of Lexia. It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of Lexia for $235,486. Lexia is an adaptive online program providing personalized instruction based on the science of reading. In the 2023-24 school year, 10 elementary schools piloted the program and 10 schools had full-year implementation models. Based upon the data and feedback from educators in both groups, we believe that Lexia will help amplify students' growth in literacy as a component of our district-wide framework for literacy instruction. Sharon Quigley, Director of Elementary Curriculum, Instruction and Assessment, and Mary Kinnery, Principal of Levon Scott, will be available to answer questions.
Thanks, Ann. Is
Move
there?
to approve.
Thanks, Noah.
Second.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Good job there.
Any questions?
Well, you're here, you might as well tell us a little bit about it, if you don't mind.
Lexia is an adaptive skill-based program that allows students to take a one-time assessment that places them at a individualized skill level. Then Lexia is able to take kids through different lessons and learning opportunities that help strengthen the areas of deficit that they may need. It also is, the online component is just one part of the program. It also allows teachers to pull reports with what students will need for small group or instruction in the classroom. And then from those reports, there's also accompanying lesson plans and slide decks that teachers can implement immediately into a small group. So the turnaround time between students taking an assessment or completing a task and teachers being able to provide an just-in-time instruction around that particular component is immediate. So the program really does strengthen from not only the online adaptive part, but also the things that it gives teachers to be able to instruct students more directly.
Is this K through 5 or 3 through 5?
This is K through 5.
And reading and math?
This is just reading.
So I see that there were 10 schools who already piloted, and then we added another 10 to pilot it this year. Are we seeing improvement in our end-of-year assessment type things using the Lexile? And that is why we decided to implement that more with another 10 pilot? I guess I don't understand I know that's one question, but I'm not understanding why we did 10 and then all of a sudden we did another 10. If you can explain why we didn't just, if it was positive with the first 10, we didn't just district-wide implement it.
Sure. Previously, Lexia was purchased through individual Title I funds, so buildings chose that as one of the components for their staff. So and this started several years ago, so as we started to see more schools take this on, and last year Lexia was able to offer a lot of our schools some special pricing to get them on board through that, and we wanted to really see, is this consistent with student data that we had saw previously? Are we going to continue to see those positive trends? So allowing those schools to take on the opportunity to pilot as well gave us additional data. And now that we have so many schools that are invested in seeing positive results, it makes sense now to be able to provide that as an equitable experience for all students to have that opportunity.
So this free up Title I dollars for those schools that Title I expenses?
Yes, so this would be paid from a different fund, so that would not impact their Title I assessments.
And Ms. Canary, how did your experience
Well,
go?
first of all, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of all the elementary principals. I've used Lexia at Irwin for the last 3 years, and it was something that I really felt was strong as far as students working independently when the teachers seeing small groups of students in reading. So as an administrator, when I would go into the classroom and make that observation, what the teacher was working with the students on in small group is what I saw them working on Lexia. It's a tandem opportunity because it is computer adaptive. What the teacher sees they need, the computer program is doing that exact same thing. So students are all working at different places, but they have goals every week that they have to meet, minutes that they have to meet. When they pass a level, they get these printed certificates, and you don't think it's a big deal, it's a huge deal to the students. They take them home, they hang them on their refrigerators. And just the engagement of students. It isn't anything, we're like, you need to get busy, when it comes to their Lexia time, because they just really enjoy the engagement of it. And I think one of the best components is that if a student isn't successful, it goes back and does a reteach, a guided practice, and then the student attempts again. So what a teacher gets as a report is you have a student maybe that gets marked with a red exclamation mark because they're in need right now of your intervention at this time because they're stuck. We've provided support, but they're still, so that's where then the live interaction becomes. So it really works in tandem with classroom teachers. In addition to that, the reports that we get, I always compared it to how are we doing on FastBridge, how are our students performing on Lexia, and could make those cross-reference. I'm like, okay, I felt it was another confident piece of data that I could continue knowing where our students were. We've had it, like I said, in place for 3 years. So our first graders, who are now third graders at Irwin this last spring, they had it for 3 full years. And our iRead scores last year were at 93.4% students passing. And I will attribute that part of that being a part of a bigger picture, but something that was extremely engaging for students. Now, as I'm moving into Levant Scott, I see the applications it would have there might look different than what I did at Irwin.
There's a huge thing as far as skill builders. So after a student passes a level, there's a lot of instruction that can happen to make sure they're maintaining those skills. I'm thinking about after-school tutoring, after-school program that could help me make sure that those reading skills are continuing for our students and able to grow with that as well. So it's almost kind of endless what's there for us and at our fingertips for after-school programming, for in the moment type interventions in the classroom. Teaching assistants, like she said, the lessons are on. You can pull them up digitally to be able to do for students. And again, it's a scripted lesson if that's what you need. So I feel like we could put it in the hands of anyone as far as that reinforcement, that reteaching, in addition to what the students are doing every day on it.
So they're reading on the computer, though, to be clear? Or are they reading
They're
on the
also
book?
working on like a lot of skills. They're building their skills for like the younger students, building their phonemic awareness, practicing their high frequency words, and then they get in, as soon as they start passing all these levels to get into reading comprehension, which we see closer at the end of second grade, going into third grade, that's where you see those students being able to do more of reading comprehension and language development.
In our meeting before this one, we were looking at end-of-year data, and I thought I saw your school way up there with respect to reading improvement. Is that right?
Right. It is, yes.
And you could credit a good portion of that improvement to this software?
I would say that anything that we're going to put in the students digitally, this is what I would highly recommend for students to be able to reinforce what it is that they're doing in the classroom. Again, it's computer adaptive, it's what they need, and teachers are getting this constant information to know. And again, it's another piece. First of all, you have great Tier 1 instructors at Irwin, and then that Tier 2 instruction, and this is a part of it that I feel was a great bonus at being able to really get our students. Every time when they were working on something, it mattered. It was right in the moment of what they needed, whether that was with the teacher or the interventionist or with Lexia.
So you mentioned that you may, though, since you're now at Scott, use it in a different way. So that's telling me that every principal can look at this tool and assess where their students are and how they use this tool?
Well, the recommendation is the students are on for like 15 minutes a day, average, something like that, for 15 minutes a day, and then they're reaching their goals. But there's all these bonus items that they include in it. Like I said, there's a skill builder that you could print off, and it gives all the lessons to help kids make sure they're maintaining the skills that they just leveled out of. So again, just thinking about volunteers, teaching assistants, writing now lessons to be able to administer when it's scripted, I just feel is another powerful tool for the adults who might not have the background knowledge of teaching reading.
Can I just ask a question about the program itself, just from a student perspective? Is the program, so they read something, answer a question, and then move on to the next? Is it one of those that if they don't get it all right, they have to start all over again?
No, it's big, but they are giving guided practice of understanding something. Okay. So again, the older students are also working on their language skills as well, in addition to the reading comprehension.
I just know we've had programs before where kids get really frustrated because you get to a certain point, then you don't answer a question, and then you have to start all over again. I was just wondering how this one, okay.
And that's what I'm saying, the student engagement is what I appreciate so much as an administrator, right? That teachers are not having to manage the students when they're on it. They're not having to say, you need to get busy, you need to do your lecture, whatever. They're on it, the kindergartners right away. It's very user-friendly for the students, and yet I just feel like it's such a strong component for the beginning readers as well as the advanced readers.
So this is like when I was at Miss West School, or if I came to your school and they did a dance break, oh, everybody loves that time, huh?
Yes, exactly.
So this is the educational equivalent, huh?
It is. It'd be something you would see engagement happening with all levels of students in the building. And again, it's just a part of the reading.
This is probably a Shannon question, but for the 10 that are going to be new to this, is this replacing something? Is there something that's going away then with this acquisition?
No, this would just be another supplemental resource that some of our schools have not had access to yet because of how they've allocated their other funding. So this would just allow them to now add that to their instructional time.
That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your explanation.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ann, did you just read one? You did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Steve, can you do F, please?
It is recommended the board approve the contract to provide case managers in our elementary programs and secondary behavior support classrooms for students with disabilities in the amount of $195,000. The contract with Park Center provides each of our elementary behavior support classrooms a case manager during the school day to support our staff with students behavioral needs in 12 classrooms. In addition, it provides one Park Center case manager for our middle school behavior support classroom. Program's funding is being supported by Medicaid and Federal Grant 611 Part B, and will be overseen by Dr. Nikki Sprunger, our Assistant Superintendent of Diverse Learners, Jennifer Burning, who is the Director of Special Education, and Brenda West, South Wayne Principal, are here to answer any questions about this proposal and recommendation.
Thanks, Steve. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move for approval.
Second.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Ann. Any questions?
Is this all at one school or in only 12 classrooms, or is this throughout the district?
We have 6 elementary classrooms and 1 middle school classroom.
And which schools?
So in middle school, it's at Portage. Elementary, we have St. Joe, Lincoln, Haley, Price, Studi, and South Wayne.
I figured South Wayne, right? And so approximately how many kids is this serving?
Anywhere from 110 to 120.
Okay. And they're providing, Park Center's providing how many people for this?
1 per classroom.
So it's 12 to 13 people?
13 people, yes.
And they're there all day?
Yes. They help get the kids in off the bus all the way to beyond the time they leave.
This is all they're getting paid.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So 12 people? Is that
13.
13 people?
It's a special person. For all hours of the school day?
Principal West, did you have this already in place at your school, or will this be a new program for your building?
No, we have had a case manager since the inception of behavior support rooms in our school. They are unbelievably helpful because it really creates a wraparound service for our kids with all kinds of needs. So having Park Center in the building helps parents with making med appointments, making extra family appointments, family outreach, summer outreach. None of those things we pay for, it's all through Park Center, but the access is so seamless because they work with the teacher, they work with the case manager, and the kids work with them every single day.
And is this a supplemental, like they're being paid by Park Center, sorry, and we're supplementing their salary? Because Jennifer just did the math and yikes.
Yeah, so during their time, that's why they're there the entire day. Some of their time, they are billing Medicaid for their services, so that's supplementing Park Center for their services.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
We're approving this contract, but is this a brand new contract or a renewal then?
It's a renewal.
And how long have we been doing this then?
For as long as I've been at central office, which is at least 7 years before that, so I can't tell you the exact number of years, but it's been a while.
And then how are students identified to go into this classroom, so to speak?
So through case conferences, students who struggle with maintaining their behavior in general education classes, when supports and strategies aren't working for them, then we come together as a team and try to implement new strategies, and when those aren't successful, then we come together and meet with parents and talk about this as an opportunity for your student to continue to be in school but learn the skills to be in school.
Does this cover all of our demand, let's say? Like, so throughout the district, is there more need than what this can provide, or?
If I opened 20 rooms, I could fill 20 rooms.
Figured.
But as of now, we still have some slots, and we are servicing students for what they need, not necessarily because of the numbers.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Julie, can you do item G?
It's recommended that the board approve the fiscal year 2023 Title II Part A grant supporting effective instruction from the Indiana Department of Education in the amount of $1,684,724. Title II Part A funding is provided to schools under the Every Student Succeed Act, or ESSA. The allocation is based on enrollments for both public and non-public schools in our attendance area. An amount of $360,032 has been allocated to serve identified non-public schools for Title II Part A. Title II Part A is an entitlement grant provided to supplement the general fund. Monies from this will be used to facilitate and implement professional learning. This grant is used for administrators, certified and classified staff of all grade levels. Ramona Coleman, Assistant Superintendent of Human Capital Management, is available to answer any questions.
Thanks, Julie. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move for approval.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Jen. Any questions for Ramona?
The amount that's allocated to serve non-public schools, do they have to request that, or do we just pass along whether they do it or not?
It's automatically a part of the formula from the IDOE, so the total grant amount that we receive from the state as a pathway from the federal grant is allocated to non-pubs. So we automatically, based upon the enrollment of FWCS, as it's stated there in the non-pub enrollment. So for example, if we have a total enrollment of both, that's around, let's just say, 36,000 students, we take the total allocated amount and divide that. And that gives us a per pupil. And then for, let's say, Concordia Lutheran High School, if they have 1,000 students, then we take those 1,000 students times $14.52 per student. I just made that figure up, not saying that's Concordia's total enrollment, but we do take it into account. And it's a formula that's built in that automatically gives us those total amounts from the IDOE.
So we get the $1,684,000, do we get the net, which is $1,324,000 and change from the $360,000?
So it's based to the penny. So usually what we do is to make sure that we don't overgive to FWCS or overgive to a non-pub. We usually look to see the non-pub that receive the minimum amount, and then if it's a penny or 2 pennies that we need to even out that formula, that's how we end up budgeting that amount for the total year.
We're going to do the budget soon this year, and we'll have to itemize how much we spend in training, am I not correct, Mr. Shipman? Do the $360,000, do the non-pubs have to report to you as administrators grant how they spend that money, what they do with the money on training or anything like that?
Yes, so all monies come directly to us as the pathway or the LEA agency, and so non-pubs have to request all funding from us. So we do not have any funding that goes directly to non-pubs, and so if they're doing a conference, we have procedures and protocols within FWCS that all documentation must be completed with us. And so then there's a communication, there's an annual meeting that we hold with all non-pub schools that's within the FWCS area to go over those guidelines with them. So we definitely do know.
But we put that request in place? Or we put that requirement in place?
That's a requirement from the federal government.
Okay.
We put the processes and procedures in place that align with the federal and the state government for FWCS.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Ramona. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Noah, can you do item H?
It's recommended that the board approve the FFY 2023 Title IV Part A grant, Student Support and Academic Enrichment from the Indiana Department of Education in the amount of $1,038,851.90. Title IV Part A funding is provided to schools under Every Student Succeed Act, ESSA. The allocation is based on enrollments for both public and non-public schools. In the FWC attendance area, the amount of $224,420.29 to the penny, as Ms. Coleman pointed out, has been allocated to serve identified non-public schools for Title IV Part A. Title IV Part A is intended to improve students' academic achievement by increasing capacity of the local education agency, the LEA, and non-public schools' ability to provide all students with access to a well-rounded education. And again, Ms. Ramona Coleman, Assistant Superintendent of HCMU, is here to answer questions.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Noah. Any questions for Ramona?
So the one before was for training. What's this one for? A well-rounded education?
Yes, so Title IV, I'll go back to Title II, if that's okay for you.
Sure.
So Title II, again, is to pick your Educated Effectiveness Grant. So this grant, again, supplements the educational fund, also into that, also in addition to other grants that we have. So when we think about new teacher orientation, onboarding for 10 days, that professional learning is paid for through Title II grant. The same funding, Title IV, which is well-rounded, we can combine those funds, and so basically this gives us more leverage as far as trying to reach more adult learners throughout the district, and we're able to use Title II and Title IV funds together. The difference between Title IV is that we can use it to integrate technology resources. We can also use Title IV when it says well-rounded, so we think about the conscious discipline that you just approved, therapeutic, counselors. So we know that out of Title IV, we have 2 of our counselors that cannot be paid for out of current grant or current educational funds that we take care of out of Title IV. So when you think about well-rounded, the difference between those 2 grants is that Title IV can also integrate the component of technology and also pay the salaries of health and wellness when it comes to our health aides and when it comes to supporting work with our adult learners, students with counselors.
And so I guess my same question on Title IV is Title II with the non-pubs. Do they have to properly document to you or to us as the LEA how and what they use the money for?
Yes, we have to have everything documented for non-pubs through the state, because at the end, working with Third Floor, Chief of Finances, we have to make sure that we have consistent reporting that aligns with the reports that we ask for dollars from the IDOE.
Is there ramifications if a non-pub, let's say, doesn't comply with that? I mean, I presume they just don't get the money if they don't fill out the right paperwork?
So, yes, it is our role and responsibility as a department to make sure that non-pubs, we have at the state level, for all grants, we have an ombudsman. The ombudsman's responsibility is to make sure that as an LEA, that we're following the federal guidelines and the state guidelines and administering grant funds. And it's also to make sure that that non-pubs follow the procedures and processes that we've outlined for them. And so we have been challenged by non-pubs several times that we've emailed, phone call, or met with them to say the request that they have made to spend their dollars is not an approved allocation, because again, it aligns with more of the religious foundation and not the public foundation. And so when we see that and look at that, we cannot allow the funds to be used in that way.
Thank you for this education.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The other thing I'll say real quick before we move
Yep.
on is I appreciate the guardrails that maybe just not you, but the finance department has put around this stuff for such an instance.
All right, I'll do the last one, purchase of Yonder phone pouches. It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of 12,000 magnetic lock and release student phone pouches, including 180 quick access medical pouches, 203 unlocking magnets, and 90 storage totes or hampers from Yonder Inc. of Los Angeles, California for $299,980. After reviewing the results from the pilot programs at Northside, Wayne, Shawnee, and Jefferson, including teacher, student, and parent surveys, we are recommending expanding the use of Yonder pouches for all secondary students. The cell phone pouches are sealed magnetic devices that allow students to keep their phones in their possession throughout the school day, but are inaccessible until the end of the school day when they will be unlocked by the special magnets. Costs include Yonder in-person support for ongoing guidance for launching and maintaining a successful district program. Yonder is the sole source provider for all of their branded products. Indiana law does not require bidding for purchases made from sole source providers. Funding will come from the Safer Referendum, and Jack Bird, Chief System Officer, will be available to answer our questions. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Ann. Any questions for Jack?
How are we going to roll this out with the 4 models or 3 and the 4th model that we saw previously in our presentations between Northside, Wayne, Shawnee, and Jefferson? Is there a plan in place?
Yeah, so Yonder will work with each of the principals to find out which of the 3 models that Yonder recommends will be using a Tier 1 implementation, meaning all students will receive a pouch. And we had the 2 models last year, the homeroom to homeroom model, and then where students are assigned a pouch and they take that home. So Yonder will be working with the school principals to find out which solution fits their school the best.
I guess what I saw in that data was Shawnee, which had that model, clearly had the best results, it seemed as if. Is that not accurate?
As far as lost pouches, that is correct.
Less incidents, less
Yes.
pouches lost, less everything.
We did get some feedback, though, from like our substitute teachers saying that that model did at times pose some issues with the substitutes. That was just one complaint that we...
What kind? If I'm a homeroom sub, I don't know how to administer that?
Correct.
We couldn't put policies and procedures in place?
Well, we would, but I'm saying that was just one of the comments we heard.
What were the other findings from our pilot programs, Jack?
Other findings? You mean
I
as
seem
far...
to recall that student performance and discipline issues dropped in the pilot schools?
Correct. I'm pulling that up right here, Steve. So we saw a 4.89% increase in our overall GPA for students in the Yonder schools. District-wide, it was a 3.36%. So there seemed to be a greater GPA increase. Concerning violations, discipline violations, the district overall decreased 22.3%. Our Yonder schools decreased 35.01%.
Well, I think this is a great recommendation. I mean, clearly, our current policy isn't working. Teachers don't want to be police officers in classrooms. And this really resolves it. I know that some students and parents aren't happy about this, but our focus has to be on improving the academic environment. I mean, I think that's why kids are in classrooms, and they need to provide their undivided attention to the instructional process that's in place. And phones disrupt and distract, and we need to end that. We need to improve the classroom performance and the behavior of our students, and silencing those phones, putting them in the under pouches is a solution. I mean, I can't think of any other approach that is going to get us there, and I think for the price, this is well worth the purchase. This is why, in part, we approved the Safer Referendum, was to improve the behavior of our students and academic performance. So I'm all for this.
Are we guaranteed, maybe we already have them, are we guaranteed to have all the pouches and equipment before school starts?
We've put Yonder on notice and said, you know, after tonight, we might be putting in the order for the 12,000.
Okay.
And, you know, when we presented this to the principals, that this is a possibility, originally we were going to stage this. They say, no, we want this day one. So we will be moving very fast to implement this. And our goal is to have them in students' hands the Monday, probably after the start of school.
So we are going to be implementing This is secondary schools, correct?
That is correct.
So our students are going to come back to a school that is going to have the pouches and the safe gates all at one time?
No.
Okay.
The weapons detectors or those will be rolled out, those will be staged out throughout the fall.
Okay, because I was concerned that that's a lot of, trying to get a lot of kids into school with a lot of new stuff through the door. I know it's hard to start with. I have concerns that while I don't disagree with a lot of things that Steve had said about the distraction, having to fix this, I still see it as a large cost to our district yearly. I have concerns that this is a sole source provider, that there is no other, and we do not have any way to control what the price increase would be yearly. We're going to have new ones each year. We had loss. My main thing is we've allowed our policy to get so far away from kids respecting what the policy is that we have to implement these pouches. And I know that we're there. And I know it's a burden to teachers, but for me, I want to see policy that has consequences so that we can get away from these pouches. Because the goal of our district is to have community members who are functioning and good community members. And that includes respecting authority and rules and policies that are in place. And I think that we need to get there. And I think that this is a purchase that is really not necessary. We have lockers, but we can't implement the policy, and I'm just being honest. I'm here as a representative to protect taxpayers' dollars and see that we're using it well. I want to see better health, wellness, and being in our students. I want better behavior, but I also think that there's ways to do that without spending this money.
I too am conflicted. I agree with everything Steve said, and I agree with everything Jennifer said. This is obviously a problem for our students. It's a problem for some of our parents. When this first came up, I saw a number of Facebook comments. They're not going to take my kid's phone away, and I think right there is part of the problem. There will be ways for kids to communicate with their parents as an emergency basis, as I understand as needed. The parents can always call the school the good old-fashioned way. But I also feel that this is kind of giving in, saying we can't handle it versus, trying to continue to handle it. As somebody's pointed out, the courts here locally have a system in place and people abide by it. Kids will grow and get into workplaces that may not allow for phones. It's just, my support for this will be centered around the things that Steve said, but also knowing and wanting assurances it will be administered the Shawnee way, quite frankly. I heard them say from Yonder that they meet with the principals and they do what's best by principal, school by school. I think it gives us the best case for control. When we see a kid in the morning who has a phone and put that phone in the pouch, and we see a kid at the end of the day who leaves with that phone and gives us the pouch back. I've heard instances where kids were given pouches that didn't even have phones. 6th graders and 7th graders, I'm not convinced every middle schooler has a phone. I'm sure enough and a lot do. But to Jennifer's point, are we buying pouches that aren't needed for kids at that point in time? And I just was really impressed with the data we saw in Shawnee, the impact it seemingly had over the other schools. I appreciate the differences. I'm glad we saw the differences. To me, that's what part of a pilot is, and to kind of see what's best practices. But for me to support this, I would have to get assurances it would be implemented the Shawnee way. I just think that gives us the control that we're looking for and seeking in managing and handling this situation. And we see the impact, again, we hopefully see, I can't guarantee that we'll see the Shawnee impact that we saw throughout the district, but I just feel that gives us our best case scenario for that result versus, buying these things and not seeing the results that we all want to see and hope for. Which, regardless if we do anything or not, I'm hopeful to all the points and comments that Steve made. I'll be quiet.
One of the things that I thought about is we already bought pouches, and the statistic that was thrown to us was the amount of 3 or more violations with repeat offenders. So I was hoping that we would look at something like using the ones that we have, implementing a policy that we hold stiffer consequences for having our phones, allowing our students to learn respect and be respectful and abide by the policy, and then those students who do not continue to get strikes against them, then they use the pouches that we have. I just would like to see some change overall. If we have to have this Band-Aid to do it, maybe that's what we need, but I really want our students to learn to respect authority, because they're going to have to do that once they walk out these doors.
Well, my daughter has figured out the ultimate solution. She has her oldest son. He is 14 years old, going to be a freshman in a New Jersey high school, and I think he is the last person in his class without a phone. And my daughter says he doesn't need a phone. If he needs to make a call, he borrows it. So there's one less student that is not on a phone in the classroom. That's the solution. But until we get there, we got to buy these pouches.
Since Steve brought up the safer referendum, this is a little bit off topic, but so where are we in having student advocates hired for our buildings this, when school starts in August?
So currently, we have all the secondary hired, so we have 24 of them hired. We're interviewing this week for 10 of the 32 elementary, and then we'll no longer have enough budget money to be able to hire the remaining 22 elementaries until January.
Do we have some in middle school then too? Or, I'm sorry, did you say high school or secondary?
Yeah, secondary. So all high school, all middle school advocates have been filled, and we're going to interview for 10 elementaries to start the beginning of school.
Thanks, Mike.
Will we, the board, we had policy put in place, or after the pilot, were there any changes to that policy? Or we're going to make any other changes to policies, consequence, the strike, X strike, you've done this too much, or whatever? Are there changes being made?
Yeah, so there were some changes made to the policy. Rachel Moyer is here, she can speak to that, the changes. There weren't significant changes, but we did, as a result of the pilot, make some changes that were recommended by the principals.
Will we get to see that policy
Yeah, Rachel,
change?
did you want to summarize that for?
Yeah, so we pulled together the pilot principles and talked to them about what worked, what didn't work. There was a lot of concern about the 4 tiers of offenses that we had. They felt it was very aggressive for such a short time period. So we have added a 5th one. I believe we're starting more with the first time, instead of taking your phone away, an administrator is going to see you put it in that pouch. And then after that, we're going to start escalating up each level. Another concern was the students circumventing the policy, putting burner phones, or I think we saw in our results a Pop-Tart. So we have now put that in place in the policy, as well as the students who say, I don't have a phone, but then at the end of the day, they're coming down the stairs already with the phone in their hands. Well, how'd you get that? We unlock it here. So for that one, it's an intervention plan that's established with the parent and the administrator.
Is there a difference between I told you I don't have a phone, or I circumvented the policy versus, I mean, I guess I felt like with the stories we heard, to me, there's a difference between someone flat out lying, even a kid lying, no, I don't have a phone, and making an honest mistake on I don't think an honest mistake happens on a regular, consistent basis. From what I thought I heard a month or two ago when we talked about this and saw some of the data, I felt like, and again, a small percentage of our kids, it's like 97% of our kids are fine with this, right, or handled it okay. But those 3%, it sounded like had consistent and repeated challenges. And I guess my question ultimately is there a difference between I made an honest mistake, or I continually circumvent and circumvent or lie about it? Because I see those as two different things, quite significantly.
Yeah, actually, Nick Sharon out at Jefferson shared why he wanted the circumvent different than a student later being found with it that had the phone in there to start with. He says sometimes the students lied and said, I don't have my phone, because they didn't have their pouch that day. And he goes, it's just a situation by situation. I know that student, and I don't need to go straight to the first violation. He goes, but if I saw something in there, and he goes, and later I see them in class on a phone, he goes, that's when I'm like, okay, that's a different plan. So he says a lot of what they did was built on relationships and knowing your students.
I understand that part, but where I see a problem with that and a hole in that a little bit is there's a policy in place at Jefferson that they have a relationship with the administration or the teachers or whatever, but they move schools to someplace else. And then they do the same thing. And the policy is a lot stricter at X school than it was there. And that's where I'm coming into a real problem with this, is because the gray area. If I go to the courthouse, there is no gray area. I cannot walk in with my cell phone. That's it. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not whatever. I'm not allowed to have my phone. And one thing that I remember distinctly about that was at the very beginning when they did that policy, a business tried to set up outside with lockers because people were trying to get used to that policy. Is that there any longer? No. Why? There's no gray area. This is the policy. This is what you're supposed to do. So now we're adding another tier to this. And I understand it's different in different places, but this kid here is going to get this policy and this little leniency, but I'm going to move schools over here, and that's not the way it goes. We have to have policy in place that is used to consistency. I'm going to use it instead of the F word, it's fidelity that gets used a lot. But that's where I'm having a problem, because how do I know the system is working with this magnetic pouch over here if we're doing it this way, and then I have a little gray area over this way? So for me, it's the consequences that a child has to face when they're not doing what is in the policy or the rule, because that follows you along not only with the phone, it follows along with behavior, vaping, X, this, that, and everything. And we have to have consequences for these kids that meet what we feel is, if you're lying, you're lying. It's not going to help you in the real world to be lying. I mean, somewhere it's going to catch up with you, and that's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. So I guess I feel like I'd like to see the policy as a board, and we'd like to be able to support policy, because I think that's a big thing that has happened in the past. I think that things make a difference when people feel supported by what they do, especially our teachers. If this is the policy, and you just mentioned that the administration has to come down and get the phone, how soon? Is there a time limit? Because if my kid's in this class and I've called you on it, are they going to get there in time to get that phone, or is that kid moved on to the next class and then they're going to start that whole thing again with the next teacher? There's a lot of different components there that I feel like as a district, if we're going to put this in place, and this is the law, by the way, this is the law to have a cell phone banning policy, that we can't have that. That state does not want us to have cell phones in our schools anymore. So whether it's the pouch, the policy, or whatever, we have to be consistent. And we have to know, our staff needs to know that they're supported by this policy and by the tool or whatever it is with consistency and fidelity. I'm just concerned that this is going to go by the wayside, and that's a lot of money.
I will just say, having attended the Trust and Inspire event just a week ago, I trust all of our principals in place to know their buildings and to know their students. So while I understand that Shawnee had better results, I don't agree with the top-down directives that Noah suggested, just because in application, things are always different. And so when you get top-down directives from the state or your boss or whatever, they're seeing it big picture, not in the weeds and the details. And then you as an employee are like, why would you do that? That's dumb. That's 9 steps I didn't need. You don't understand what I'm doing, those kinds of things. So I would say let's trust our administrators to know their building. And what I heard about the classroom coming to get the phone if there is an issue, that if an administrator isn't available, that the student advocates are coming in to get those phones and dealing with the situations much quicker. I also think that while I understand and agree with some of the things that have been spoken tonight, and I want to improve society, I will say that there are adults that can't put their cell phone away. There are jobs where you're expected to check your cell phone 24 hours a day. So while I understand that, yes, we want people to adhere to policies and laws and things like that, we have to build a bigger jail because we don't have enough room. So while I want there to be rainbows and sunshine and bubbles, I just think that we need to have a tool in place to support our teachers, and we need to trust that our building principals are going to do the best thing that's right for their school building. So that will be my 2 cents on that. And with that, are there any final comments so that we can vote? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. All right.
Good discussion, Mr. President.
Yeah, thank you. We are due for our next board meeting on Monday. Is that right? That date is wrong. Today is Monday, July 22nd. No, it's fine. It's August 12th. Thank you. So yes, that'll be after the first, or that will be the first Monday of the school district, or the school year, I'm sorry. So with that, we are at board member comments.
No additional comments, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Several of us went last Monday to the new teacher orientation, and I think there were 80 teachers there, I think. I saw my old neighbor. She was teaching in East Noble, and I'm glad she's here in Fort Wayne. But pretty impressive what we're doing with our new teachers, and to prepare them and make them comfortable going into that first day and first week of school. Just one more comment about the new proposed diplomas for, parents and students who are this coming year in 8th grade or younger. The state of Indiana has a proposal for a new diploma. I want to thank the Fort Wayne Community School teachers who have been to, some have been to, and I don't have all the names, so I don't want to leave anybody out, but there have been 2 meetings with the State Board of Education where they took public comment, and I know there were several teachers from Fort Wayne Community Schools who were there who expressed their concerns. So that information is still online. You only need 24 credits to graduate. You don't need world history. You don't need a foreign language. You don't need fine arts. That's a brief review of some of the concerns. And the comment period ends July 30th. So if you want to go online and express your concern, you can still do that. I saw in the Indiana Education Insight that the estimate, so part of the new diploma is you can get points for work-based learning, in other words, working outside of the building. And the estimate per student cost for that is $1,697 per student. That's about $1,200 for transportation and $500 for placement. No mention, of course, of who's going to pay for that, though I think we know who that's going to be, and no mention of if the state is going to give schools extra money for that? And who's going to provide that transportation? That's another concern. So again, especially parents, not only educators, but especially parents. If you have concerns, I urge you to go to the Indiana Department of Education. You can probably just do a search for Indiana GPS diploma and find the comment form and make your concerns known. And hope all of our staff have the next, what do we have, 16 days before school starts? So we don't have another meeting before then, so I wish all of you a wonderful end to your summer and enjoy preparing for the new school year. It's going to be here before we know it.
No further comment.
Thanks. Oh, Jen?
Nope, Julie took it up. I also wanted to do is tell our employees and educators to enjoy that time off every last second that they have.
I have no comments this evening.
Dr. Daniel?
So this morning I heard Principal Cafele and speak to our new teachers, and actually spoke to our staff and then spoke to our new teachers, and speaking with, right now I believe he's with parents. So very impressed with the gentleman's, what he's experienced and what he's done in districts that are very similar to ours, and seeing the growth of the students, yes, academically, but also their life skills. And I think we're very much on that trajectory. And as we connect with leaders such as Principal Cafele, that we embrace these things and bring these things to our classrooms, to our principal leaders. And again, people came up to me afterwards saying how much they appreciated his comments, his presentation. But again, it's not a one-time phenomenon, just like Covey. Covey's not a one-time phenomenon. So we're looking at how to embed that in more intentional ways and purposefully, i.e. as we work on our culture. But bottom line is relationships, relationships, relationships. So as we develop relationships with our students, we do so by, as Principal said, we breathe relevancy into the curriculum. And students then see purpose. And as we move them into this whole phenomenon of schools of success, which is a pre-K through 12th grade phenomenon, that we take the time to first create these relationships. And I think the results will be, they'll be amazing. But again, go slow to go fast, and we're there, we're at that point, and I can't wait for the school year to start. Just really can't wait. And I want to thank Ramona and her team for all the professional learning that's taken place this summer, everyone that's been working on schools of success. The amount of professional learning that's taken place this summer has been ridiculous, off the chart. But I think people have wanted it instead of, oh, I got to go to it. It's been a desire, and I think that's a game changer. So, again, thank you for providing those opportunities for us, because I know you approve a lot of things that then direct us and move us in these ways. So, can't wait. August 8th, right? August 8th. All right.
Yeah. I'll keep my comments short. I also, like Julie and Jen, wanted to wish our staff and students and families a happy first day. I know there'll be lots of those photos with the signs, and it's always fun to see how students have grown up throughout the years. Just wanted to remind everybody that we do have in-person registration coming up this Thursday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. In all of our buildings. And then with Danita Washington, with families and parents. They are hosting a Parents Are Part of the Equation event this Saturday at Southside High School. I don't know about anybody else, but I got excited when they said they were going to explain to me all of the platforms that I sign into and which one is for what thing and all the things. So I'm on board with that. So hopefully lots of parents take advantage of that event this weekend. And then next weekend, August 3rd, is our block party, which is always a lot of fun. Are we requiring students to pre-register again this year? I know we did last year.
They check when they come in.
They check in when they come in?
check
Okay.
to make sure they want to go.
Awesome. So that's always a fun event with haircuts and school supplies and food trucks and all the things. So, but that is the end of my comments. Is there a motion to?
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
We gonna vote?
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.